I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are stuck on a train.
Okay.
You are sitting by the window, watching the landscape roll by,
Yeah.
and it's constantly changing.
Right, like an ever-shifting view.
Exactly. Like 1 minute you are staring out at this breathtaking sunlit mountain range and you feel incredibly inspired.
Yeah.
But then, maybe an hour later, the tracks plunge into a terrifyingly dark, deep canyon and you just feel totally isolated and overwhelmed.
Wow, so pretty intense ride.
Very intense. But here is the catch, though. This train has no terminal station. It never stops.
Never.
Never. It just keeps looping the same tracks forever. And even stranger, every single time you board this train for a new loop, your memory is completely wiped clean.
Oh, wow. So you don't even know you're repeating the trip.
You have absolutely no idea. You have ridden this exact route thousands of times before, but you just sit there, staring out the glass, totally convinced that every single view outside that window is brand new.
I mean, that sounds like a deeply exhausting way to exist.
It really does.
You would be in a constant state of reaction, just thrown around by the scenery, completely unaware that you are essentially trapped in a closed-loop system.
Right. And that feeling, that perpetual motion machine of forgotten histories and endless repetitive reaction, that is the core premise of the profound source material we are diving into today.
It's a heavy topic, for sure.
It is. We are looking at a translated 2011 philosophical and spiritual text by Xuefeng. It's titled 36 8-trigram Arrays, The Array of Life and Death.
Yes.
And just for context, the translation we're working from today was edited by Qin.
It is really a massive, sweeping piece of writing. I mean, Xuefeng essentially diagnoses the entire human condition as an inescapable holding pattern.
Yeah, a holding pattern.
It is a trap, basically, but a beautifully disguised one because the walls of the trap are made of our own lifetimes.
So our mission today is to explore this text and really grasp its vision of existence.
It's just no small task.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We're going to look at this endless cycle of reincarnation, examine the illusion of our daily lives, and the absolute emotional extremes we are subjected to.
Right, the mountains and the canyons.
Exactly. And most importantly, uncover the radical, entirely unconventional method this philosophy proposes for breaking free from this array.
I love that part.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can talk about how to, pull the emergency brake on this train, we need to understand the mechanics of the trap itself.
We have to know what we're dealing with.
Right. So how does Xuefeng actually define the architecture of this array of life and death?
Well, the foundational premise here is that life revolves ceaselessly.
Okay.
As you brought up with the train metaphor, the philosophy argues that the universe literally erases the memories of our past lives,
But why? Like, what's the point of the wipe?
so that we can reappear in a specific time and space as a completely new self.
Oh, I see.
Because we don't remember the past loops, we are filled with what Xuefeng calls endless hope. We genuinely believe we are forging a unique, unprecedented path.
When really we're just walking in circles.
Exactly. In reality, life is just endlessly repeating. The text describes our everyday human experiences as dramas unfolding or ceaseless games.
The metaphors used to describe this engine are incredibly evocative, I have to say.
Oh, absolutely.
It outlines life as a rigid cycle of growth and decline, arising and dwelling, decaying in emptiness.
And it does not present these as accidents.
Right.
They are actual mechanisms.
It's the right mechanisms.
Think about how those mechanisms actually function in the natural world. Like, why is decaying grouped with emptiness, and why does that lead to growth?
I'm guessing it's a clearing out process.
Exactly. A forest has to burn down and clear out the old canopy, creating emptiness, before the sunlight can reach the forest floor to grow new saplings.
That makes perfect sense.
And Xuem is applying that exact same natural physics to the human soul.
Which really makes the waves metaphor in the text click for me.
The ocean waves, yes.
It argues that life pushes forward like waves in an ocean, with each wave becoming the next. It describes the churn as appearing bright yet dark, dark yet bright.
It is a constant machinery of renewing and eliminating.
But wait, I have a question about that. If we are just waves rising and crashing, what is the actual water made of?
That is the big question. The water is the eternal nature of existence itself.
Okay.
And this brings us to a grand paradox at the center of this philosophy. Shuofeng points out that while humans, as physical, biological beings, cannot live eternally, the cycle of life and death is eternal.
Wait, so the cycle itself is the eternal thing?
Yes. And the argument here is that the human soul never actually dies.
Oh, wow.
Yet, because of the memory wipe, we live our entire physical lives under the heavy, terrifying illusion that we are walking toward ultimate finality.
We think we're going to permanently die.
Exactly. We are immortal beings who have somehow convinced ourselves we are mortal.
You know, it honestly reminds me of respawning in a massive multiplayer video game.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. You know, you are playing your character, you take a wrong turn, your character gets eliminated, the screen goes black, and then boom, you respawn in a new zone of the map.
You start fresh.
But in Xufeng's version of the game, the server forces a hard reset on your hard drive every single time you respawn.
So you lose all your data.
Exactly. You do not remember the gold you hoarded, the alliances you built, or the traps you fell into.
Right.
You are perpetually starting from level 1, convinced it's your very first time picking up the controller.
That is a brilliant way to visualize the mechanics of it. You are reacting to the game environment with fresh panic or fresh excitement every single time.
Just totally blind to the underlying code.
Totally blind.
But let me challenge this a bit.
Sure.
If we keep getting a new view when we respawn, and the old painful scenery fades away, why is this framed as an array?
You mean like a trap?
Yeah. An array implies a confinement, a cage. If the memory wipe spares us the burden of carrying thousands of lifetimes of baggage, why isn't this just viewed as a beautiful, endless journey of discovery?
Well, because the emotional reality of living inside this system is agonizing. That is why it is a cage.
Agonizing how?
Shuofeng argues that it is absolutely not a peaceful, scenic journey. The memory wipe does not make the ride smooth. It makes you entirely vulnerable to the turbulence.
Which brings us to the emotional roller coaster aspect of this text.
Yes, the constant ups and downs.
If we go back to the idea of the train of history, it carries life along tracks that traverse temporal paths that are seeming new yet not old, familiar yet not original.
The philosophy heavily emphasizes this relentless emotional swing.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. Drifting in this river of history means jostling on life's path. You might ascend a magnificent peak, say you finally land your dream job, or you fall deeply in love.
The bright spots.
But the mechanics of the array dictate that a canyon must immediately follow. The promotion brings unbearable stress. The love turns into a painful separation.
Joy and sorrow intersect. Joy and sorrow alternate.
It's a guarantee.
The text is almost brutal in its assessment of hope. It basically argues that we walk forward full of hope, but despair inherently lies at the end of that hope.
Yes.
And conversely, what appears as the darkest despair holds the seed of hope at its end. There's this hauntingly beautiful line. With spring and fall, they come and go.
It is an endless swinging of the pendulum.
And if you look at the specific human struggles listed to illustrate this cage, it becomes very grounded.
It does. Xufeng talks about paths never fully traversed, hardships never fully consumed, and suffering never fully endured.
Yeah, and it goes on to list joys never fully enjoyed, calamities never fully borne, anger never fully vented, and debts never fully repaid.
It's universally relatable.
Think about your own life for a second. How often do you feel like you are just treading water, trying to manage a web of entangled relationships?
Constantly.
You finally pay off your credit card, and the very next week, your car breaks down. You resolve a bitter argument with a sibling, and a brand new misunderstanding pops up the next day. Your personal honor and disgrace just fluctuate endlessly. It is exhausting.
What's fascinating here is that this philosophy refuses to view your daily struggles as unique, individual, personal failings.
That's actually kind of a relief.
It is. When your relationships are a mess or you feel a deep anger that you can never quite resolve, Shutum is basically saying, stop taking it so personally.
It's not my fault.
Exactly. This is not because you were flawed. This is the fundamental, inescapable programming of the array of life and death.
Wow.
These unending permutations of stress and fleeting joy are the literal bars of the cage.
So it is not a bug in our psychology. It is the core feature of the universe's operating system.
You're just doing what the code tells you to do.
But that raises an obvious question. If this array is just the natural mechanical cycle of the universe, why should we fight it?
That's a fair question.
You might be wondering right now, why not just ride the wave? except that the ups and downs are the cost of admission to being alive, and try to enjoy the peaks when they happen.
You could choose to do that, absolutely. But Zhu Feng outlines incredibly severe stakes for remaining in the array.
Severe stakes.
Yes, every single person on Earth is currently operating within this life and death cycle. But if you do not actively break out, the spiritual consequences are dire.
Okay, stop right there because the text uses some very specific spiritual terminology here.
It does.
What happens if we just stay on the train?
The philosophy states that without escaping, you cannot break free from the 6 realms of reincarnation.
Right.
You will continuously suffer the torment of the 5 element cycles.
Wait, before we go further into the doom and gloom, what exactly are the 6 realms and the 5 element cycles in this context?
Good question.
Are we talking about literal fire and water, or is this a metaphor?
They function as metaphors for the mechanics of suffering and physical bondage.
Okay, got it.
In many Eastern philosophies, which Kuei-Feng draws upon, the 6 realms represent different states of existence, from heavenly pleasure realms to hellish torture realms, and the human realm right in between.
So all the possible places you could end up.
But the key is that all of them, even the heavenly ones, are temporary. You eventually die there and cycle back.
The loop continues.
Always. And the 5 elements, wood, fire, earth, metal, water, they represent the material forces of the physical universe that push and pull us.
The physical stuff.
Right. To be subject to their cycle means you are entirely at the mercy of physical decay, disease, and material loss.
So as long as you're in the array, you are just a piece of debris being knocked around in a cosmic washing machine.
Precisely. And the ultimate deprivation is that if you remain in this washing machine, you can never reach the sacred realm of the celestial land.
What's a celestial land?
This represents a state of permanent, undisturbed spiritual peace. By staying on the train, you are choosing profound spiritual stagnation.
Oh, I see.
Furthermore, Shui-Feng insists that you cannot cherry-pick the experience. Life and death are entirely codependent.
They come as a pair.
Always. The text says, where there is life, there is inevitably death. If you want the joy of the peak, you are legally obligated by the universe to endure the agony of the canyon. You get the whole package forever.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
If the trap is so perfectly designed, if birth absolutely requires death and they are the root of each other, how do you possibly break a perfect self-sustaining loop?
Well, because the problem is an absolute law of physics within the array, the solution proposed must be radical.
Radical how?
Shui-Feng explicitly demands that we think unconventionally and let your imagination soar. You cannot solve the problem of the maze by using the logic of the maze.
So what is the unconventional cheat code?
It's a massive paradox.
Okay.
The philosophy says you must transform life into death, transform death into life. The exact instruction is only live, never die, only die, never live.
And the text expands on that paradox by saying, without birth, without death, die first, then be reborn, living without death.
Exactly.
Die first. Obviously, we're not talking about physical self-destruction.
No, definitely not.
The text outlines practical steps for what dying first actually looks like on, a Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
It instructs us to stay away from inverted dreams, illusions, the pursuit of material possessions, and the trappings of the worldly realm.
It is calling for a profound, radical emotional detachment. To die to the world means to abandon the things that hook you into the emotional roller coaster.
The attachments.
It means abandoning love and hatred. It means abandoning the concepts of closeness and distance, rejecting worry and fear, and rejecting what Shui-Feng calls our intoxication with life and death.
That is a massive leap to make, though. I am going to push back on this.
Go for it.
Because abandoning hatred, worry, and fear, sure, sign me up. But abandoning love, abandoning closeness to your family or your friends.
I know, it sounds harsh.
Is Shui-Feng seriously asking us to give up the very things that make the human experience remotely worthwhile? How does the text expect a normal human being to actually achieve that without just turning into an emotionless, cynical robot?
It is a completely valid reaction, and it is exactly why the text admits this requires unconventional thinking. It goes against every biological instinct we have.
Literally every instinct.
But let's look at how Shui-Feng defines the state of enlightenment that follows this detachment.
Okay.
The philosophy says that when a spark of enlightenment illuminates the vast universe, the concepts of right and wrong simply vanish. Honor and disgrace become irrelevant.
That sounds peaceful.
And here is the defining phrase. Flowers bloom and wither without stirring emotions. Clouds gather and disperse without affecting the heart.
Without stirring emotions. You have to admit, that sounds incredibly cold.
It can seem that way.
If my dog dies or my partner leaves me, I'm supposed to just look at it like a cloud dispersing.
It only sounds cold if we are viewing it through the lens of the array, where we are fully addicted to the emotional roller coaster. But Shuifeng is not advocating for apathy or numbness. He is advocating for liberation.
How is it liberation, though? Explain the mechanics of that.
Think of it like being an actor in a deeply tragic, beautifully written play.
Okay, an actor.
When you are on stage, you deliver your lines. You might even cry real tears during a heartbreak scene, and you appreciate the beauty of your co-stars.
You feel it in the moment.
Exactly. But when the curtain drops and you walk out the stage door, you do not take that grief home to your apartment. You know you were just playing a part in a constructed narrative.
Oh, I see.
The enlightened state Shuifeng describes, being without attachment, without hindrance, is realizing you are the actor, not the character.
You separate yourself from the role.
Right. If you love the play so much that the script's tragedy destroys your actual mental health off stage, you are trapped. By detaching, you can appreciate the flower blooming, and you can accept the flower withering, but your core eternal spirit remains completely undisturbed.
That is a fascinating distinction. You are stepping off the tracks and just watching the train go by.
Watching the train, yes.
You can acknowledge the beautiful mountains and the dark canyons without letting them dictate your internal reality. You are no longer intoxicated by the drama.
Exactly. You're sober.
Which brings us to the ultimate reveal of this philosophy. If we step off the ride, if we successfully detach from material possessions, from right and wrong, from the roller coaster of love and hate, what is actually left?
The real reality.
If I am the actor leaving the theater, where am I walking to?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Shuifeng gives us a definitive, striking answer. The text states, everything is a game, only life is real.
And crucially in the translation, that second life uses a capital L, capital I, capital F, capital E, life.
Yes, all caps.
The ultimate instruction Shuifeng leaves us with is quite literal. Treat everything as a game to play.
Exactly. The lowercase life that we think we are living, the unpaid credit card bills, the fluctuating honor at work, the entangled relationships,
The daily grind.
the literal life and death of our biological bodies, that is the game. That is the simulation.
Right.
Capital L life is the eternal reality that emerges when you transcend the array. And the text provides a final action step to achieve this. Hold tightly to the greatest creator's hand, sever worldly ties, and establish celestial bonds.
I want to ground this in reality because it is incredibly empowering when you really think about how to apply it.
Oh, practically speaking, it's huge.
Imagine taking this philosophy into your commute tomorrow. Let's say someone aggressively cuts you off in traffic.
The worst.
If you are trapped in lowercase life, your blood pressure spikes, you feel personally disrespected, you honk your horn, and your day is ruined. You are entirely at the mercy of the canyon.
Because you believe the traffic jam is absolute reality.
Right. But if you are operating in uppercase life, and you have established those celestial bonds, which just means aligning yourself with the eternal rather than the temporary,
Yeah.
you view that driver as just a random, chaotic mechanic in an endlessly repeating game. It instantly relieves the pressure.
It takes the sting out of it.
You don't have to rage. You just say, an obstacle in the game. How interesting.
Yeah.
You don't let it stir your emotions.
It shifts your entire center of gravity. By treating the material world as a temporary game, you successfully sever the worldly ties that are keeping you strapped into the passenger seat of that train.
You break free.
You transform from a pawn being pushed around the chessboard into the player observing the board from above.
We have covered so much ground today. We started by realizing that we are passengers on a train with no terminal station.
Trapped in an endless loop.
Yes,
Really?
trapped in an endless loop of reincarnation, emotional extremes, and wiped memories. We looked closely at the terrifying mechanical architecture of the life and death array.
Where birth inherently guarantees death.
And every joyous peak legally requires a devastating canyon.
And from there, we explored Shuifeng's radical paradox for escape, the absolute necessity of dying first to our worldly attachments.
Right.
We discussed how abandoning our intoxication with the emotional roller coaster isn't about becoming a cold, unfeeling robot.
But rather becoming the actor who knows the play isn't real, allowing us to discover true, unburdened life.
Capital L-I-F-E.
So what does this all mean for you?
The big takeaway.
It means Next time you feel completely overwhelmed by a canyon in your everyday life, whether it's a massive failure at work or just a chaotic week, you have a new framework to fall back on.
A new way to see it.
Remember Sui-Feng's advice. Flowers will inevitably wither, but you do not have to let it stir your emotions. You can choose to treat the material world as the game it is, step back from the board, establish your celestial bonds, and finally, roam freely.
I love that. Roam freely.
But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question to mull over on your own, something that builds on everything we've unpacked today.
There is always a deeper layer to uncover.
If, as this philosophy asserts, everything is a game, and our memories of past lives are intentionally wiped clean so we can experience the array as a brand new self,
Right, the hard reset.
is achieving this total detached enlightenment actually winning the game? Or is it just finding the cheat code to unplug the console completely?
Oh, that's a wild thought.
And if you do manage to turn the game off, what happens to the player sitting in the dark? Think about that the next time you look out the window of a train. Catch you on the next deep dive.